Hello my dear friends, and welcome back to another Star Wars news update. A few months ago, I made a video stating why I think Carson Teva is the single most important character in the Mando-verse, and the thread that ties everything together, the voice of reason in the New Republic, the one who raises the alarm, is ahead of the curve, and is perspicacious to the dangers that lurk in the galaxy, ones which so many of the New Republic government don't take seriously. This is probably going to be most potent in Season 4, and later in the video I'm going to share with you a really surprising theory why I think Hamato Shiono might be out to get him, but not for the reasons you might think. But there is one major concern with his character that Sun-Hyung recently brought up. I interviewed him just before The Mandalorian Season 3. He's an absolute legend, and a diehard Star Wars fan in and of himself. And now that The Mandalorian Season 3 and Ahsoka, which he also appeared in, are over, he spoke about what's to come for the future of the shows, and his character in them, and he speaks of, quote, the dramatic irony of Carson Teva. Let's dive into what he said. Sun-Hyung admits he doesn't know where Jon Favreau and Dave Filoni's story is going. Speaking with Tatooine Times, Lee was asked about what it was like working on Book of Boba Fett, Ahsoka and The Mandalorian, and even though he's been central to all three, and is most likely going to be a massive part of Dave Filoni's movie, he has, quote, no idea where it's all leading. He went on to say, I'm just gratified and so happy Jon and Dave want to have me on board, and play this character who's becoming more and more important in the Star Wars universe. He then goes on to reveal Jon Favreau's original description for Carson Teva. Favreau likened him to a beat cop back in New York, saying, quote, he knows the neighborhood, he's been around for a while, and he knows how to pick and choose his battles. But because he has limited resources, he's got to depend on the community to help him out. And then Paul shares the dramatic irony of not just Carson Teva, but many of the characters in the Mando-verse, a problem many Star Wars fans have pointed out over the last few years. Because Jon and Dave are set to double down on the connections between the Mandalorian story and the future sequel trilogy, there is too much of a sense of inevitability. They're not going to overwrite canon, they're not going to scrap the sequels, as many fans theorized. So in a sense we already know where this leads. The New Republic has to lose, the First Order has to rise. But in terms of individuals, there is the question of where are certain characters during 7, 8 and 9? The obvious answer is it's a big galaxy. Not everyone has to appear in every film, every show, but there's more to it. Carson Teva is directly involved due to the fact he's tracking down Imperial remnants, he was pivotal in taking down Moff Gideon in Season 3, and now that he's hired Mando to do the same, this puts him at risk of being one of the first major Mando-verse characters to be killed off. And it might not necessarily be from a remnant. Carson taking matters into his own hands, and at times being more effective than the New Republic's resources and military, makes the New Republic look bad. And some members of the New Republic government who take their pride very seriously are not happy with this. They don't like the way it makes them look. Some government members like Shiono are made to look bad, and this could become a problem. They might decide it's too problematic, having Carson Teva perform his own investigations, hire off-the-book mercenaries like Din, and so he might be in jeopardy not just from the Imperial side but also his own side, the New Republic. He might become independent, or worse, he might be arrested on some made-up trumped-up charges which will also show the corruption of the New Republic, which is canon. So when he talks about the sequel trilogy, and the alarm bells that sounded when he realizes he is no longer there by the time of the rise of the First Order, he says this, that is the dramatic irony. We all know what happens 20 years down the road. He's kind of like Prophet Cassandra, who is doomed to be ignored, even though they can see the future. And this is what's really sad. I think Carson Teva is going to go out a hero, signaling something way worse than Gideon, probably the return of Thrawn, or, if we're talking about bigger threats that connect to 7, 8 and 9, then Rey Stone, the Exegol subplot earlier on. That was going on for years under the radar. But one thing is for certain when we're talking about what's coming up with Skeleton Crew, Mando Season 4, Dave's movie, and any other future Mando-verse project, it's about to get dark, intense, and I can't wait to see what's in store. One of the interesting changes in the Ahsoka show is how Mon Mothma is only now starting to believe what Hera and Carson have been talking about. But it could be too late. Thrawn is back, and the threats posed by other remnants as well is about to increase, and that is why what Din and Grogu discover on their adventures in Season 4 is really going to set the tone for the way Dave Filoni explores the New Republic's downfall and unfortunate tragedies, maybe even of Carson. And so now, my dear friends, StarWarsNewsNet.com have given us an interesting piece on when Shawn Levy might make his Star Wars movie, which is still in the works. So setting aside the possibility of The Mandalorian Season 4 being a film, which was one of the biggest rumours that we had this month, Lucasfilm has confirmed 5 upcoming films. The 3 announced at Celebration, which was Sharmina Bae-Chinoy's Rey movie, Mangold's film, and Dave Filoni's Mando movie, but we also have Lando, which was originally going to be a Disney Plus show, but is now being developed into a movie, and of course, the one by Taika Waititi, but there is one name which often escapes the list, but is still confirmed. Shawn Levy, who confirmed earlier in the year. He is very busy, but he will work on his Star Wars movie when his schedule opens up. And unlike 1 or 2 other directors I mentioned, he is extremely passionate and eager to make something in the galaxy far, far away. So when realistically is this going to happen? Levy has a few weeks left to shoot on the London set of Deadpool 3, before he then moves on to post-production and tries to get the film finished by July of 2024. So it's a pretty intense first half of the year, and the tight schedule means he's not going to work on Stranger Things Season 5 until the summer. And since they've confirmed he's going to be directing at least 1 episode, it's logical to assume it'll probably be in the second half of 2024. Shooting on Season 5 begins in January though, so now we're on to the fall, and this is where Star Wars Newsnet say things get very interesting. Although Levy signed on to direct another Netflix project, this time starring Ryan Reynolds, it's unknown when that's going to film. The Hollywood Reporter said it's probably not happening anytime soon, so they say the earliest he could work on his Star Wars project is late in 2024, but that is also doubtful, because the priority for Lucasfilm movie-wise is Sharmina Bae-Chinoy's Rey film in 2026, which goes into production this coming spring, and I can imagine after that one, Dave Filoni's Mando film, and James Mangold's movie about the origins of the Jedi. And they say there is a good chance we get a Lando update in the first 2 months of 2024, considering Donald Glover's Mr. and Mrs. Smith debuts on Prime Video. When doing press, he might spill the beans on when we can expect it, or at least some more details on what it's going to entail. So to jump to Star Wars Newsnet's prediction, they predict Shawn Levy's movie is not going to start filming until 2026 at the earliest, and that is best case scenario if Lucasfilm don't cancel it. Their track record for cancellations has not been great. And so finally, my dear friends, some LEGO Star Wars news. I recently spoke about the dwindling relationship between TT Games and LEGO, and this opens up a world of possibilities if Lucasfilm, LEGO, and another developer decides to make Star Wars LEGO games in the future. TT already said, after LEGO Star Wars The Skywalker Saga, there is unlikely to be another Star Wars LEGO game for a long time, if ever. But I believe, as do Game Rant, the next Star Wars LEGO game is a pretty obvious pitch. Focus on other parts of the Star Wars galaxy outside of the 9 films. The Skywalker Saga, the Complete Saga, they both focused on the main saga films, episodes 1 to 9, and before that, 1 to 6. We've also had Clone Wars LEGO games, but the one aspect they could focus on, instead of just doing it through DLC packs, are the actual Disney Plus shows. For example, a LEGO game that is The Rise of the Empire, and in that you can explore Andor, Rogue One, Solo, and the Kenobi series. And similarly, they could do a Clone Wars follow-up, so it's LEGO The Bad Batch game, or a Mando-verse one, encompassing Mandalorian, Book of Boba Fett, Ahsoka, and Skeleton Crew. Just an idea. But with that said, my dear friends, I want to wish you all a very Merry Christmas and Happy Holidays. I hope you enjoyed this one. If you did, please be sure to give me a big fat thumbs up, subscribe if you're new, and I'll see you in the next video. May the Force be with you, always.